Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you today. If you're in New Jersey, it's a snowy morning, but we don't have to worry about that because we are cozy inside and have a great conversation for you today to help keep you feeling good. And I'm so grateful. As you know, on Thursdays, if you are a regular for YWTV, you know Thursdays is all about sharing the mic now. And this is when we take the opportunity to amplify the voices of Black women in our community and share their stories. And I'm so excited today to have Rolanda St. Felix with us. I happen to connect with Rolanda because we have a mutual person that we are connected to, and I had heard that she was going to be on the news reading her poetry, and I made sure to tune in, and I was just so impressed and wanted to invite her to be part of our show. Let me tell you a little bit about Rolanda. She is a young poet and an author hailing from the Bronx, and she has a bachelor's degree in communications from Nyack College, and she recently released a book called Purposeful Growth. She uses writing as a way to change the world one word at a time, and she encourages others to be empowered by self-expression. Rolanda, thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, no. Thank you for taking the time to share your gift with us. So, I'm always so enamored with writers and poets and artists, and because I just love seeing the creative spirit manifest itself, and really appreciated the work of yours that I've been exposed to so far. Can you just indulge me? Tell me how you kind of figured out that you had this gift and how you evolved it.
Well, I can definitely say that I started writing poetry in middle school. So I always was outspoken, and I always liked writing. So I found it in my spare time. I just wrote in this little notebook that I was gifted from one of my teachers in middle school. So from then on, it was just like amazing. I just always was writing poems, whether it was like short ones, long ones. It started off like as regular notes, like regular like notes of how I was feeling, how my day was going, like a little journal. And then I was able to put the words and phrases together to make it into poetry. So once I started, I had the notebook for like years, and I'm like, okay, one day I think I'm going to, publish a poetry book. So then I got to college, and then I said the same thing. One day I'm going to do it. One day, and then one day turned into obviously a few years. But yes, in 2020, I finally was able to make that dream come true. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, that's a great experience to have in 2020, because so many, because it was such a challenging year. But what a
Right.
wonderful way to celebrate a year for sure. So you had this journal and you just started kind of capturing your thoughts. Had you taken a class? Had you been exposed to poetry? I mean, how did you think to just start kind of writing down in the way that you do?
I didn't quite take a class, but I did. I did read many poetry books in my young childhood years, especially from the late Maya Angelou.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that gave me great motivation to be able to create something of my own from seeing it, done by many other poets and writers. And especially in school, we had to like read and learn and study about many different people. So I was able to take what I learned from that and put it into my own words.
Mm-hmm. And then like what's the process you go through in your mind when you're creating? Like, is something like itch at you and then you have to put it down on paper, or are you see something and get inspired? Like, what's that journey like?
It's kind of like a mixture of both. So for example, like I can like think of something and randomly and just like start, writing it down. But sometimes it does get like that. Sometimes I have to like hurry up and like write it down before I forget. But usually that's why in my poetry book I like explain on the back that that some other poems are like about me and some are about other people, because sometimes I can like write as if I was he or she in this particular situation. So obviously I'm not in it, I'm me, but I basically know how to write as if I'm them, like through their eyes and their perspective. Don't ask me how. I know how to do it, but it just basically comes. It basically comes around to me, so I'm able to basically like write about anything. Like sometimes it's like acrostic poems, sometimes it's like long poems, sometimes it's short poems. Yeah, it kind of like varies, but usually I have to be like in like a quiet place. Usually it's a quiet place, and then sometimes it can be like a daydream, and then that I'll have, and then I'll just be able to create a whole poem just from that in my head. I'll be able to already now.
And
yeah,
then
it's funny to explain.
No, I know it's probably hard to put it to words because of the process is so ingrained, but I'm always so I always marvel at the talent and how it comes from here and then ends up on paper. That journey out. So you studied communications in college.
Yes.
Have you taken a lot of poetry workshops, or have you I know you mentioned Maya Angelou, who I also, I'm not a poet, but I fully love and appreciate, her work for sure.
Right.
Have you taken a lot of classes? I mean, have you read, who are your inspirations, that help kind of, cultivate your gift, with you and inspire you?
But well, at first it would be my Angelo. She'll be the first inspiration from me reading her poetry and learning about her and reading about her life. So she definitely started it off for me, and then what followed was like the people around me. Like I was able to relate to some of the things that was going on and like their lives. So I was able to like write about how I felt and how I could help someone else and things of that sort. So it basically helped me. The people around me actually helped me to figure things out, and like the poem wise, like it was able for me to figure like how this would sound, like this event, how this would sound, and now it will basically play a picture in everyone's head. So I like being able to give people a visual when reading, so that they'll be able to understand what I was seeing when I was creating the poetry.
Yes, and from what I've been exposed to, I can say that you definitely do that for sure.
Thank you.
So obviously this year with the inauguration, we as our whole country got to hear a young poet, and that was I think probably a new voice for many people, although she's not new to writing poetry for sure.
Right.
What was that like for you to see, you as a poet who's been, doing this for years, but to see suddenly poetry be in such a light that it even ended up being part of the Super Bowl,
Right.
like that's not a normal showcase for poetry. So we're seeing like an evolution of an art because of this amazing young woman and her talent and how we were all able to embrace it. What was that like, for you? What's that like to see that happen?
When I first watched it, I was really excited because usually, like you said, it's something new to basically see, especially also on the Super Bowl. People sing all the time and things like that, but you never really see no one actually reciting a whole poem. So I was really excited for her, even though we don't like know each other. But I was really excited for her, and I was like glued to the TV when I was watching it, and I felt like the emphasis that she was putting in her words and how it related to what is going on in the world today. And she just looked so pretty. I was just so happy, and I'm like, okay, maybe one day that could be me, But it was very shocking. But it's good to know that the world is changing, some way, somehow, positively,
Mhm.
that someone like her was able to get, the opportunity to do that. That people went out and they basically, saw her and they found her and they, contacted her and told her, hey, come to Super Bowl. We love what you do. Come recite a poem, things like that. So that's really a great feeling I can imagine for her as well. But for me seeing it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, go girl. It was really nice. It was nice to see that our art is like, being recognized and, taken seriously.
Yeah, I can I can only imagine, and you know, I love that like a whole generation now are hopefully going to be growing up with poetry as being, something that's just not taught in school, but something that's like active, in
Mhm.
different places and spaces in their lives, thanks
Mhm.
to some of what we're seeing. So I don't want to wait any longer. Can you read some of your poems for us? I'd love to hear some of your work, and I know our viewers would as well.
No problem. Where would you? Let's see. Where can I start? I can show you guys the cover.
Yes, which I love the butterflies. It's beautiful.
Thank you. This is the back. Okay. I can start off by reading one entitled Empowerment. I can read that one. One second. This poem is entitled Empowerment. Women are strong, but sometimes we want to take the load off. Open the doors for me, hold my hand, be a man. Understand that it's not easy being a woman, especially a black woman. The weight of the world's on your back, the pain, the agony, the disrespect, the neglect. No way should we be treated like that. Keep your head held high. It is okay to cry. Wipe your eyes. Let it fly. You were made for this. Ancestors paved the way for this. For you to know and never be afraid to show your beauty. You are strength. The S on your chest stands for Superwoman. That crown on your head stands for Queen. You are the epitome of heaven sent. That's one of them.
I love that. Uh, I love that. So what was the journey to write that poem?
for that um for that poem, I wanted to basically create like a visual of how usually black women, we usually always have to have like it all together, and I feel like I had the visual of like being a black woman and then also having like family that is like parents and things like that. So it was like you always have to feel like you have it all together. Like you always have to have that superwoman, cape on. You have to have it, all together, and you have to be able to do everything and have all this strength and whatnot. And I wanted women to always be able to see that, that you are strength, and that you should never, subside from that. You should never feel that you are less than that. That you can just have your, your cape on and just do everything in grace. But it's also times where you could just take that cape off and just be yourself and relax, but still be beautiful and very strong even afterwards. So I wanted to be able to create a poem that can basically show that anything is possible, especially with women, and that we are all, beautiful and smart and strong. And sometimes we want like someone else to be able to like step in so that we don't have to like do everything, but we should always be treated like with respect and things like that. So I wanted a poem to be able to, for people to be able to see that and feel it and visualize it.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So
Thank you.
please share another poem with us.
Sure. Let's see what else I have up my sleeve. um, let's see. Do you have a special request or just anyone I choose?
I'd love for you to choose some of your favorites.
Okay. This one is entitled. Strong. Some people call it pain. I call it life. I say you have to remain strong whether you want to or not. Life throws curveballs at you that you sometimes can't miss. It can't fit. Too much sorrow behind them eyes. Take a trip. Start over on a better tip. Don't let life get you down. Hold on to that crown. Never take it off. Even when they say you're unfit. God gives the hardest battles to his toughest soldiers. You must remain strong even when you feel like it's all over.
Love that. I love it. So tell me the story around that one.
So behind this poem, I feel like with this poem I wanted it to be like somewhat at ease. So when people read it, it's like, okay, they understand that, sometimes a lot goes on in the world. Sometimes you're very, busy, and sometimes you want to just, take the load off and just, relax. But also I wanted people to know that they should have, self-love, that they are, capable, that they are, amazing and great, even if like, the world isn't able to, see it. And sometimes they might not feel it from being in the world and being in society, but just letting everyone know that you are beautiful, that you are capable, that you are strong, and that you should never be afraid to let it shine through.
Thank you for sharing that. So tell us the story about how now, how you published a book in 2020. And please hold it up again. And for everyone watching, we'll make sure you have the link we've been flashing for you how you can follow Rolanda on her social media sites. And through that, you can access her book of poetry, Purposeful Growth. So tell us the process for creating a book of poems. Obviously you had years worth of work. How did you pick which ones ended up in the book? And, how did you get to the point of doing it? I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, from how I basically went forth with it is because from my journal that I spoke about earlier, I went from the beginning of the journal to the end. So basically, I wanted it to be a storyline in a way. So I wanted it to be like a journey from like middle school up until now. So even though I think like one or two poems like didn't make the cut, it didn't make it into the book because I wanted it to be strategic. I wanted it to be like, okay, for example, the first poem is entitled Babies, because that's the first poem that I wrote in my journal when I was in middle school. And then the last poem is entitled Chapter 25. So obviously this is before I'm now 26, but this was before I had a birthday. So I wanted it to conclude basically within that. So I wanted the journey to be about the different poems that I was feeling. So the transition from when I was childhood up until now. So some of the poems are about me, and then some is about others. Like I told you before, I'm able to make it as if I'm the person in the situation, like through their minds and from their perspective, I'm able to like write about it. So I started off that way, and then I went about writing out all of the poems, like typing it out, and then I sent it to my editor at the time, and then I chose the cover. I chose the texture of it. It's a matte texture. I chose the title, the colors, the butterflies. I chose all of that. It took me a little time because I wanted it to be kind of sort of like perfect. So it took me a few months to even really confirm that I really wanted to, publish it, because I did have some doubts. I did, because like you said, sometimes usually poetry is like it's obviously known, but I feel like it's different when you're trying to sell a book, like it's not like, oh, I'm selling jewelry, oh, I'm selling t-shirts, oh, I'm selling headbands, or I'm selling sweatsuits, sneakers, it's out of the ordinary. It's not obviously your everyday, purchase a poetry book. So I was a little discouraged at first with that, but then I realized I'm like, okay, it's not only about, you, Rolanda. It's other people that need to read this. Other people that need to, feel good about themselves. There's other people that probably has been through like the same things as you, or they know someone that's been through the same thing that you're gonna display in your book. So I had to, suck it up and get it together and gain the courage and publish it. So it took me about, I'm gonna say, like a year to actually get it, set in stone and done. And it's also on Amazon online and Barnes and Noble online. So it took time, but I definitely am grateful. And I also decided to choose the butterflies because, like I had said before, the poetry book is like a journey. So usually before you become a butterfly, you're a caterpillar. So it's like your caterpillar and your cocoon, and then you branch out into become a butterfly. So in middle school, I felt like I was a caterpillar. I was still trying to get to know myself. I was still, shy. I didn't really know really what self-love meant. I was still just going along with my, regular childhood, trials and tribulations. So then when I became a butterfly, when I became an adult, it was like now I've blossomed. So it's like that's why I chose butterflies. Now I know who I am, so it's easier for me to come across with butterflies. So that was my idea.
I love that. And I was going to ask, so I appreciate you sharing because I
No
want
problem.
to hear the story behind that. And so tell us the story of the title,
Okay.
Purposeful.
Oh, the title "Purposeful Growth" actually came, I'm gonna say, in like a dream, because before I chose the title, I'm like, I don't really know, because the title is like the first thing that you see when you pick up a book. Like besides the texture, besides like the bottom part, it's usually the title that draws people in. So I had a dream about it, and then I also prayed about it as well. And then purposeful growth came from, well, obviously the growth part came from me growing from childhood until now, and then the purposeful part came from my growth being on purpose. Like it needed to basically happen. Like all of the poems that I wrote needed to basically be written, and everything that occurred to me had to happen in order for me to grow to be me this today.
Yeah.
So it definitely is on purpose, and it's definitely purposeful. And I had to realize that as I began to publish the book, I had to realize that, ding ding ding, that's a perfect title. It concludes everything, and it coincides so well. So
Well,
that's very key.
it's a powerful title. It's a powerful title, and so is your work. I'm going to ask you to read one more poem for us as we close out. But before you do, I'm just going to make a few announcements because I think it's more important to end with your words than with mine. And so with that, for our viewers, we're so grateful that you spent some time with us today. Please, we'd love for you to share this story and Rolanda's story with people in your life. You can easily do that by copying the link to this broadcast and sending it to someone in Messenger, posting it on your Facebook page, sending a text so someone can hear her words, her journey, her story. They are definitely an inspiration for other young writers, for other any writers, honestly, it doesn't matter the age. But I love that she shared her story, how it came to her young and how she, evolved with it. And we, as I said, have been sharing how you can connect with Rolanda, and her link to her social media and to her book are included in the comments. So we encourage you to, to follow her and keep up with her work because I'm going to say this is your first book because there's going to be more to come for sure. And I look forward
Thank you so much. Yes.
on. We're going to manifest that together for you for sure. And I want to tell our viewers the YWCA is getting ready to launch a journaling workshop shortly, and it really is about helping women find their voices, and be able to tell their stories and find tools and techniques to do that. And I've already gotten Rolanda to agree to be part of a guest for that workshop and share a little bit about her story and her process with our new writers. But I do encourage those of you watching to think about women in your life, or think about yourself, and what a gift. And what a journey. I don't know that Rolanda realized when she got that journal way back when, what it would evolve and be in her life. But clearly, it really has the potential to be life changing, to have a gift and a tool like sharing your words and putting it out. So with that, I also want to remind everyone, before I turn it over to Rolanda to close us out with one more poem. February 26th, we encourage you to join us from 7 to 8:30, girls 15 to 20, to be part of the Color Complex conversation, where we're going to be raising awareness about the impact of colorism in our communities. And so we want, please share the link for that with girls in your life. It's free of charge. Our Women's Leadership Conference goes live in March once a week for 4 weeks. And then we finish out the last week with a wonderful virtual networking event. We have 4 inspirational women, starting with Dr. Chris Purnell kicking us off the very first week. So we hope that you join us. More information is coming out about that. And tomorrow, tune in. I know we're seeing snow and rain outside, but we're thinking summer camp at the YW. And we'll have Miss Daniela, as she is so famously known, our camp manager, Daniela Pinto, will join us to give us a sneak peek about what we can expect for summer camp this year. And with that, I'm so grateful to everyone for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to Rolanda so she can close us out with another one of her beautiful pieces. And Rolanda, thank you so much again for sharing your gift with us today.
No problem. Thank you so much, Miss Helen, for having me. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to talk with you guys again. But before then, I'm going to recite this next poem. It's entitled Endure. It's like they don't want us to win. It is bad enough that we sin and have to deal with that in the end. But while we're here on this earth, why do we have to pretend like the enemies are not against us? They don't want us to be black, to be this and that, to be all that. They want us to suffer and not try to fight back. We are under attack. When I close my eyes and fall back, I fight back with prayer. It is hard not having all of the answers. What happened to us? What happens to humanity? They are killing our people without sincerity. Why did he have to die? Nipsey and all of the others along the lines? Confusion. When will we be set free? I can now imagine being killed because of knowledge, because of sanity. This life may seem like a joke, the land of the free. Yeah, right. We can't see it. No matter how clear the path may seem. I want to wake up and the world be great again. It's sad because I kind of get why some people say I can't live in the world anymore, i.e. commit suicide. This is a cruel world, all darkness, no light. But after all the sorrow, we have to look up to the hills and remember where our help comes from. God is in control, and he isn't yet done with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolanda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's you guys can purchase my book in the link in my bio on Instagram. It's it'll automatically connect you to the Amazon website, and it's also on Barnes and Noble. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, I do have pop-up shops in the Bronx usually, so you guys can come to that if possible. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Well, we'll be following you. We'll be following you. And thank you so much again for sharing your gift and sharing yourself with us in such an amazing way. And thank you all for joining us today. We wish everyone a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.